Good morning, late morning, well, actually afternoon. I wanted to read from you to a book I just recently bought, which again, the Gospels of Mary, the best one. I've already, I forgot the name, but it's from a French translator. Okay, and the reason why I'm doing this is because as I was reading Mary Magdalene and the Mysteries of the Divine Feminine by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, author of The Lost Years of Jesus, Yeshua. I used to study a lot of Clare Prophet's work, Saint Germain, the Violet Flame, the Chohans, when I was in my 20s in San Francisco. So I'm going to read this to you because I want to also tell you the download that I got, which I know is not out of nowhere. Whenever I get downloads, that's when I start reading. So again, this is by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, and it starts out with chapter 1. Jesus prepares for his mission, the lost years of Yeshua. I'm going to say Yeshua, okay? This book, Mary Magdalene and the Mysteries of the Divine Feminine, is not only about women or for women. It is a book about your right to become who you really are, whether you are in a male or female body. The leaders of the early church did not accept this message. Let's pause and digest that. The leaders of the early church did not accept this message, which is clear. I've read from the Cathars with you, so you know. You know how brutal it was. And so for more than 2,000 years, Yeshua's teachings on women has been lost. His message on reverence for women and the feminine potential of both men and women was almost unknown until recently, when newly discovered texts have brought to light some of Yeshua's lost teachings. He was not I don't know why people say he was a practicing rabbi. He wasn't. He wasn't. And you'll see why. I'm going to prove it to you. You're going to see why from what we know. And then I'm going to tell you the download I got as I read that. I almost feel like crying. One source of these teachings is found in manuscripts that speak of Yeshua's lost years in quotation marks in the East. His profound reverence for women. Do you see how his profound reverence for women has been captured in ancient Eastern texts written down by Buddhist historians? These historians chronicled Yeshua's words and deeds during what are called his quote-unquote lost years. I've published this text in my book, The Lost Years of Jesus, which tells the stories of these documents, how they were found, and what Jesus did during the years that are not mentioned in the recorded scriptures that the church councils, Council of Nicaea, when the Emperor Constantine put together. I'm adding that. Okay. I'll be buying that other book and reading it to you as well. We have absolute silence in the Gospels as to where Yeshua was from age 13 to 29. It is pure, did you hear this? Pure speculation that he was a carpenter in Nazareth of all that time. But it is no longer speculation what he did elsewhere, because these documents discovered in Ladakh. Let me spell it for you. Ladakh, in a monastery, tell the whole story. The people who went there and saw them and wrote down what they saw are all profiled in my book. So let me tell you the names. Nicholas Notovich, Russian. Swami Abhedananda, Nicholas Roerich, and Elizabeth Kaspari were the 4 eyewitnesses to the Buddhist manuscript that describe Jesus' lost years in the East. I'm going to tell you the download in a minute. The people who went there and saw them and wrote down what they saw are all profiled in my book. This is not a book on religion. It's a book on history. The most important history of our time. As you know, there's no record in our Bible of Jesus' whereabouts between the age of 12, when he was found at the temple discoursing with the doctors, and about age 30, when he was baptized by John the Baptist in the Jordan River. Ancient Buddhist manuscripts say Jesus spent these lost years in the East, where he was known as Saint Isa. Here's the download. As soon as I read this line, I got a download of the Catholic Church sending some of their bishops, I should say a bishop, but I saw more than one. So it could have been a cardinal and a bishop. Incognito, not in robes. Going to the temple to make sure this was never found. To make sure that this was debunked. Why do I say that? Well, because if you follow me and you've been along the journey of me reading about the Cathars and how the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church sent his mercenaries, I'm not joking, in around the later part of the 12th century, in France, in the Languedoc region, to slaughter every Cathar, man, woman, and children. Does that sound familiar to you in any way in what we're living right now? And why? Well, they not only slaughtered them, they made sure they burnt every scroll, every book, everything that had been copied that talked about Yeshua, the bridegroom, the marriage, something that the Knights Templars also knew about because they were soon slaughtered. That's why Friday the 13th is considered an unlucky day. It comes from the slaughter of the Knights Templars. Again, by a French king and the Roman Church, once again. So when I tell you that the download came, and it came out of nowhere, I was minding my business, I was having my Earl Grey cup of tea in my kitchen table, reading this to myself, and I got the download that sent a chill down my spine. I'm not joking, I'm not being dramatic. I knew I had to do a live. Because right now, what we're about to read has been firmly debunked. That this was all made up, that there was no such manuscripts that spoke of his lost years, that it was all bullshit. Okay, let me continue. Saint Isa. In my book, I've published 3 independent translations of the manuscript about the life of Saint Isa. The first was made by Nicholas Notovich, a Russian journalist who in 1887 found the manuscript in a Buddhist monastery near Ladga, a region in northern India bordering Tibet. He published his text in 1894 as The Life of Saint Isa, Best of the Sons of Man. Swami Abhidananda, a scholar and a disciple of Ramakrishna, saw the document at Himas in 1922. Abhinanda journeyed to the Himalayas, determined to find a copy of the Himis manuscript or to expose the fraud. His book of travels, entitled Kashmir O Tibet, tells of a visit to the Himis Kumpa and includes a Bengali translation of portions of a manuscript that he saw there that closely paralleled the Notovich text. I had Abhinanda's version of the manuscript translated from Bengali into English for the first time, specifically for my book. The same or similar text was seen by a Russian artist, archaeologist, and author Nicholas Roerich in 1925. That's the name you'll hear more often than not, by the way, when we talk about this. And why is this important? It's fucking important. Because what we're finding out as we see them rerouting information, debunking things that are real, and all of that, the agenda is to keep the Abrahamic fist firmly over our crown chakra. For what purpose? Well, I think you know. I mean, you should know. Okay? Roerich, who spent more than 5 years traveling through Central Asia, also found accounts of Yeshua's journey to the East recorded in the oral tradition of the region. Well, I mean, are we dumb? When the star of Bethlehem shone on the day he was born, let's take away December 25th and let's throw that one in the trash, please. But did we not get the story of the 3 wise men from the fucking East? And as I've said, this is my download. One was from Egypt, One was from India, one was from Tibet. And the message to Mother Mary and Joseph, the protector of these divine souls, and he was a divine soul as well, the protector, which there's a history of that, by the way, of guardians that will take care. They're in the human form and they take care of divine souls. They will sleep at your feet if you are Swami, a guru, and they will devote their entire life to make sure you're safe. And that was Joseph's life. He was devoted to Mary and to Yeshua. And so the three wise men come on the day he's born, and they say, when he is of age, when he is between 12 and 13, bring him to us, and we will train him. Why do you think they came? Just to give a couple trinkles of gifts, of a couple incense and resin? Hey, have a good life. See you on the flip side of the moon. Are we dumb? What's interesting is that they were not able to, I guess they weren't that creative, and they weren't so bright. When we look at the gospel of this and that and the other, they're not bright men. I'm sorry. They're misogynistic. They have a lot of problems. And their foundational beginnings are Abrahamic. So they have absolutely no respect for the feminine sex. If you watch the movie Agora, how many times am I going to say it? But I'm going to say it until you all say, I've seen it. We're good. When you've seen the movie Agora, and you see the vile wretchedness of these Christians attacking high priestess, highly educated women, and priests who are the caretaker, call them librarians. It's no different than us literally going to one of the best libraries on the planet, one being in Paris, one being in New York, and just literally, slaughtering the librarians and burning all the books. You'd be fucking aghast. Well, that's essentially what happened at around 400 AD. And the vileness of the at that point, the masculine. See, this is what I'm looking for. I'm not by any means a Christian, but I am a devotee of Yeshua. But I'm also a devotee of Buddha, of Krishna, of Radha, of Mary Magdalene, and of Mother Mary. And what were their real high priestess name? It's reported that Mary of Magdalene is actually Miriam. Miriam being a very holy name. But what was her name? And the efforts it took for them to just burn the history of us whenever we incarnated as feminines. So let me continue because this is important. So let's go back to Rorik. So Rorik, who had spent more than 5 years traveling through Central Asia, also found accounts of Yeshua's journey to the east recorded in the oral tradition of the region. The lost years of Yeshua also included the eyewitness account of Dr. Elizabeth Kaspari in 1939. Boom. World War II is about to fucking hit, right? She was at Himis, and the librarian presented a set of parchments to her with these words, quote, "These books say your Jesus was here," unquote. These books say your Jesus was here. Your Jesus was here. In 1951, we find Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas traveling to Himis. He later wrote in his book, Beyond the High Himalayas, the following. There are those who to this day believe that Yeshua visited the place, that he had come here when he was 14 and left when he was 28. Heading west to be heard of no more. The legend fills in the details saying that Yeshua traveled to Himis under the name of Isa, which, by the way, the Muslims revere in their Quran. Oh, I love the comments. Thank you. I've triggered you, right? Good, little troll. Go ahead. I'm glad that I'm literally triggering you with the truth. The truth. Not your God. Not, oh, it's my God. I'm praying to my... No, God. God, the one name, the one and only, the creator, the one of 1,000 names, the one who created us all, not some personal thing that you own because if we don't follow your religion, we're damned to hell. Yeah, not that God, not the Anunnaki God you guys have been praying to. This gentle force of power that is neither masculine nor feminine. I'm glad I triggered you, little troll. keep making your comments that are being blocked. Enjoy. Meanwhile, let's continue with some real knowledge and not some bullshit. All right. For more than a century, these documents have been known to be here and have been seen. The manuscript and oral tradition about Saint Isa reveal that the 17 years Jesus spent in the East, Yeshua, Isa, spent in the East were a dress rehearsal for his Palestinian, did you notice, by the way, she said Palestinian, mission. Monastery, and this is, remember, this is before the Chinese in 1959 that took over Tibet. Do you understand? There's all kinds of shit that happened. And these documents were kept in this monastery, right? I'm trying to give you like a timeline. But in 1959, the Dalai Lama, who you all know, had to flee Tibet because they were under siege. Okay? They were taking Tibet over. And if you look at globes from 1947, you will see Tibet right on the globe. That's why my role, my job is actually to find a globe that's from 1939, actually, so that it says the right names for the right places. But in addition, it reminds us of what happened. The eradication of a country's eradication of one's language and there's all kinds of fuckery now. I wouldn't go to Tibet or the place you would, if you put 100 grand on the table, that Tibet is gone. And it was eradicated. Okay? So, which is heartbreaking. Let me continue. Jesus' preparation for his mission. So, Maitreya. According to Notovich, translation of the Buddha's text, Jesus left home with the goal of perfecting himself in the divine world and of studying the laws of the great Buddhas. Think of this. He had the goal of perfecting himself in the world. It is a liberating statement. It tells us that Yeshua walked a path of this discipleship under the great lights of the East, Lord Maitreya, Gautama Buddha, and Sanat Kumara, who is known as the Buddha Timpakara. Jesus is our role model. Have I not said to the Divine Masculine, make Yeshua your template? You want to know, well, I don't know, who do I look up as a man? Yeshua. It's a perfect template for you. Because why? Well, because he's the bridegroom to the high priestess, Mary Magdalene. Because this is a divine union, that's why. Unlike Buddha, who was, a celibate. And that was his path to his own liberation. Okay, and he was born around 650 years before Yeshua was. Which, you would think people would respect that as well, but, they don't. They just go into their little caves. Jesus is our role model. The Jesus of the New Age movement, the Jesus who is the universal avatar of all ages, is far grander, far more profound than the Jesus of Orthodox Christianity. That Jesus sought the perfection of his heart and mind. His soul and spirit tells me that although he was born an avatar, truly the incarnation of God, he still had to take the necessary human footsteps. Did you hear that? Let me repeat that because I want you guys to give yourself a break, okay, in your human experience. That Jesus sought the perfecting of his heart and mind, his soul, and spirit tells me that although he was born an avatar, he was already perfection, right? Truly the incarnation of God. He still had to, do you hear that? He still had to take the necessary human footsteps, and he had to do it. We also have to do it. Did you get that? Calm the fuck down. Your jealousy, your anger, your frustration, all of these negative concepts that we would negate, anger, we negate. Then we have Thich Nhat Hanh talking to us about anger and how to deal with anger with compassion. We have been shamed. We have been told for hundreds of years we were born in sin, and we have been shamed for all the volatile human emotions that we have experienced. And the irony of ironies, it's those emotions why we incarnated into 3D. Part of it, not all of us fell. Some of us actually volunteered and said, yeah, I want to know what that feels like. To be completely fucking ignorant of my beginnings, to not know anything. To not understand my beginnings, to not understand why I'm here, to not understand why I'm addicted to shit, to not understand why I feel like my life is worth nothing, to understand how that can happen, being that I'm a multi-dimensional light being, a soul of magnificent power. How the fuck does that happen walking to an avatar in 3D? Yeah, I want to experience that. I want to understand. So in spite of Yeshua being born as a perfect being, right, a perfect soul, he still had to go through the process of remembering himself. And if he had to, we also have to. He had to do this to accomplish his soul's integration with the Word in preparation for his baptism, his transfiguration, his crucifixion, his resurrection, and ascension. The Gospel of Luke testifies to this growth process. I emphasize it because orthodox. Christianity tells us today that Jesus was born a God, far removed from all of us, and yet we see that he unfolded that God flame throughout his life. He reached the culmination of its manifestation when he began his Palestinian mission. To know that he was not only simply that God with nothing to do about realizing or integrating with God, we simply need to read Luke. And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. Waxing strong in spirit means that from the time of your conception through all the stages of growth, your spirit and your soul are integrating with your mind, your heart, your physical body, your chakras. A little baby cannot contain the fullness of God that is there at the age of 33. And so we see that Jesus is the role model from birth to us to externalize our personal Christhood, our personal God manifestation. Writing of him at age 12, Luke again observes the increase of his soul's integration with the Word, and Yeshua increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Yeshua journeyed to the east to study and to prepare for his mission. This is a Jesus much closer to our hearts. We understand how arduous the journey, how difficult the soul testing, that he had to face the forces of hell and of darkness, as well as the greatest light, and keep his balance between both. If we could do it, we can all. If he can do it, we can also, because he said, he that believeth on me, that the works that I shall do, he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. Did you hear what he said? He basically said, you'll outdo me. If you believe, Father. Did you hear what he said? He basically said, you'll outdo me. If you believe in me, right, you will outdo me. That's why we have Christ-like codes. We are the conduits of Christ. He's not coming back in the physical form like all these people. You know, again, we had the whole debacle on the, what was it? Oh, yeah, the rapture, right? Okay. That didn't happen. And I'm not laughing at those people. I really am not, okay? But I am going to say that should make you fucking ask some questions. That should make you go outside the book, the holy book you've been reading, and literally selling your car, your home, traveling, doing God knows what you went through, okay? Some of these people went through a psychotic breakdown, I kid you not. And that's not being talked about, the aftermath of that, taught by people that should have known better. You're either a theologian, and you really are, or you're what do they call them, Bible scholars? No, you're a theologian. Okay, you find out where the truth is. You don't just sit on something handed to you by various people who wrote with their own agendas, Constantine being the biggest hustler on the planet. Jesus prepared, I jumped. Jesus is a how-to teacher. He teaches us by example and he expects us to follow. Jesus prepared for his mission with all due diligence. It is not blasphemy to affirm that Jesus had to work to internalize and bring forth the fullness of his Christhood. He said it himself, I must work the works of him that sent me. My Father worketh hereto, and I work. What Jesus learned in the East, he has brought back today. I have published his teaching in the Lost Teaching of Yeshua. You can learn to do the things Jesus did, and that is the reason for being. That's why you came into embodiment at the conclusion of the 20th century, because God needs you to manifest your own Christ perfection. Fuck, yes. The Son of God, the Christ incarnate, knew all these things, the things that he went to the east to perfect. But Yeshua, the evolving Son of Man, must learn through the mastery of the lower bodies what his soul had known from the beginning. So it is with you. The God presence is with you and in you. The Christ light is the flame in your heart. Your soul has existed for eons. But when you come into a new body, you must integrate with the physical body and brain and mind. You must integrate with the desires that you bring back with your karma. You must bring down from your higher self momentums of the past, of mastery, of creativity, and all of this put together. Thank you, Jillian. So we have to go to school and study and learn all over again what is in the memory bank of our beings. Did I just say, what did I say? I said the tight Abrahamic fist over our crown chakra. Now I'm reading this for the first time just like you. Why? Because if your crown chakra is blocked, you cannot get divine guidance. Divine guidance. Not some fucking old fuddy-duddy who has issues with women writing scripture and speaking of it on his pulpit, telling you you're a fuckhead while he's tiddling with the boys. Let's stop fucking respecting people who don't deserve our respect. And let's start looking for answers ourselves. Again, Cathars slaughtered Roman Pope. Okay? His order. That's all I gotta say. If that doesn't scare we're talking about simple, sweet, to their own. The Cathars were known by the Pope as very humble people, very good people, very gentle people. But he slaughtered them. That's all I gotta say. Because they believed in what I'm reading right here. I mean, sure, Elizabeth Clare Prophet is writing the book. But what, you don't think many of us are Cathar, reincarnated Cathars, bringing it back, going, oh, you might have ended us in the 13th century, but we're fucking back. And we're taking it all back. And we will download new fucking truths. And we will download it all over the world, and we'll connect. And we'll go, oh shit, you too? Yeah, me too. I got this down. Same exact downloads will come. From where? The greatest library ever created, the Akashic Library. In other words, from the highest truth. This can't continue. What, are you kidding me? Did you see what happened with the rapture? Did you see how people were sobbing and crying? I'm sorry, okay? We need to right the wrongs, and the urgency is here. The Son of God, in Christ incarnate, knew all of these things, the things that he went to the east to perfect. But Jesus, the evolving Son of Man, must learn through the mastery of the lower bodies what his soul had known from the very beginning. So it is with you. The God presence is with you. And in you, the Christ light is the flame in your heart. Your soul has existed for eons. But when you come into a new body, you must integrate with the physical body, brain, and mind. You must integrate with the desires that you bring back with your karma. You must bring down your higher self, momentums of the past, of mastery, of creativity, and all of this you put together. So we have to go to school and study and learn all over again what is in the memory bank of our beings. That doesn't mean to say that God is not perfect in us already. It means this outer mind and soul have to once more mesh with the reality of being. Yeshua moved among Hindus, Buddhists, Zoroastrians, and pagans while he was in the East. He championed the poor, taught the people to stop worshiping idols, and challenged the false priests who subjugated the people. Did you hear that? That's why he was put on the cross, because he challenged. He called them out. You guys are selling kids, you fucking pieces of shit. You're fucking, full of shit. You're using fear to subjugate the masses. You're making them crawl on their hands and knees to give you their last gold piece or silver piece or pig or cow. Because you put the fear of God in them. The fear of God. How dare you? Challenged the false priests who subjugated the people. He told the lower caste, God, the Father, makes no difference between his children. All of them are equally dear. The caste system is a debacle. And it's harmed people. How can you have a caste system and believe in reincarnation? Oh, I'm always going to incarnate as a Brahmin because I'm a pure soul. Oh, really? Yeah, you've really mastered incarnations. I'm calling them all out. She's calling them all out. Actually, no. Yeshua is calling them all out. The text out. She's calling them all out. Actually, no. Yeshua is calling them all out. The text also, he denied with his full force the right of man to take upon himself the power to deny his fellows of human dignity. Now, that wasn't exactly a message that the priest class wanted to hear. During his sojourn in the East, Yeshua's life was threatened more than once for his outspoken challenges of the priesthood, but each time he escaped. Chronologically, Yeshua's life as we know it. It is your divine right to know where Yeshua was between the age of 13 and 29. Did you hear that? It is your divine right. Scriptures make no mention of these years, and yet those who have come back from the East with the message of his journey, reporting this to Rome. Oh, fuck. Reporting it to Rome? Let's see what happens. We're told a century ago that there are at least 63 documents in the Vatican brought back by various travelers speaking of Yeshua's journey. We have a right to know why Rome did not impart this information to us, and to think for a moment why the most powerful church in the world would not want its members to know what Yeshua did during these lost years. The three Abrahamic religions need to fucking wake up. Wake up. Because any religion that looks down on a woman and prevents her from reading scripture, I don't care which fucking books, I don't care. You are the problem. You have disgraced your own mother who brought you into this world. How dare you? This holy grail, this womb that contained not just an avatar, but your very souls. I mean, that's insane. Before we continue with Yeshua's pilgrimage in the East, let us review his early years and the chronology of his life as we know it. He was born sometimes between 8 and 4 BC. He spent his early life in Palestine. He may have moved to Memphis, Egypt, shortly after his birth and lived there until the death of Herod. You remember it is written, "Out of Egypt have I called my son." So the scriptures was fulfilled. He was called out of Egypt upon the death of Herod. Legends from the British Isles say that his great-uncle Joseph of Arimathea, who took care of him after the death of his father, Joseph, was a tin merchant who, with a fleet of ships, regularly sailed to the Isles. It is said that he took Jesus to Glastonbury as a youth to be educated before we read about him in the temple at the age of 12. At that time, the most famous universities in Europe were in Britain. They were the Druid universities. Druid. Want to make sure you heard that. Nothing more. Not monastic. Druid. Sometimes we overlook the normal questions we should be asking. Where did Jesus learn and study to be so wise at the age of 12? If you are of the view that, contrary to all of the laws of our lifetimes, he automatically had the knowledge of his time, had mastered other languages, memorized the Old Testament, and even apocryphy books that are not in the Old Testament that he quotes, the knowledge that Jesus had is a knowledge that is gained through education. Wisdom is gained from God, but knowledge comes through education. No kidding. No kidding. Of course it does. To some degree. I will say this, to some degree, because some education comes from the great libraries of the Akashic, right? And from that you download, objective truths, histories, knowledge, right? Books that are no longer in the material world, but are in the etheric world because they were burned during the Alexandria, the last 3 burnings. And so those books now are in the etheric library, aka Akasha. And from there, in meditation, you will get downloads. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So that's what I'm saying. I believe that Yeshua had a very rich childhood, was watched over carefully by his mother, by his father, Joseph, and then by his great-uncle, Joseph of Arimathea. And that he was fully prepared with all of the knowledge that our teenagers must wait till they are 18 to receive, and much, much more by the time he was age 12. We look then elsewhere for proof, for some clue to the mystery of our Lord's doing. And we find our answers in the ancient Buddhist manuscripts that say that Jesus spent his lost years in the East. These texts were originally recorded by Buddhist historian in Pali, the sacred language of the Theravada Buddhist canon. Later they were translated into Tibetan. Jesus travels in the East. From the texts themselves, we have pieced together a chronology of Jesus' travels. It begins at age 13. He set out towards the Sindh, a region in present-day southeast Pakistan in the lower Indus River Valley. The Life of Saint Isa records. So this is a quote of the book, okay? When Isa had attained the age of 13, the epoch when an Israelite should take a wife, the house where his parents earned their living by carrying on a modest trade began to be a place of meeting for rich and noble people, desirous of having for his son-in-law the young Isa, already famous for his edifying discourses in the name of the Almighty. Then it was that Isa left the parental house in secret, departed from Jerusalem, and with the merchants set out towards Sindh with the object of perfecting himself in the divine word and of studying the laws of the great Buddhas. Who are the great Buddhas? They are simply people and life streams like you and me who sought to embody that universal Christ. And in the term Buddha means one enlightened by that universal one who is consciousness has budded and opened, whose 7 chakras, actually it's 9 now, but okay, 7 chakras have become orifices for the receiving and the distribution of that light. At the age of 14, Yeshua crossed the Sindh. His fame spread far and wide. The Jains asked him to stay. Oh, that's an incredible religion, Jain. Jains. You should look it up. They are the gentlest of the gentlest. Jain. Jains. You should look it up. They are the gentlest of the gentlest of the gentlest. So the Jains asked him to stay, but he went instead to Juggernaut, where the white priest of Brahma made him a joyous welcome. The priest taught him to read and understand the Vedas. How often do I talk about the Vedas? How often do I talk about the Bhagavad Gita? How often? The ancient scriptures of the East, they taught him to cure by aid of prayer, to teach, to explain the holy scriptures to the people, and to drive out evil spirits from the bodies of men, restoring unto them their sanity. They talked about with Mary Magdalene, this just came down, so I'm going to talk about it. They talk about in the scriptures that he drove the 7 demons out of Mary of Magdalene. They're so stupid, it's amazing. I'm like, 7 demons. Can you guess what he was doing? He was igniting her 7 chakras. He was igniting her 7 chakras through multiple ways, which would include tantric lovemaking. She would ignite his, he would ignite hers, and she would be able to digest what he was teaching her verbally and telepathically. Okay? This is me saying that on a download. All right. Most of us have believed that Jesus did not need to be taught anything, and yet his entire childhood is a record of learning and receiving the word of God and of mastering the Old Testament scriptures and the prophets and texts that were part of the Essene community of Qumran. Jesus was familiar with all of the background and history of his people. Somehow we are led to believe in a magical Jesus, someone entirely different from the laws of life on earth. What Jesus did and what he said between these ages, these lost years, is priceless, essential, and fundamental to our own evolution and our own psychological development. We do not understand our psychology if we assess it only as ourselves being humans, subject only to the condition of this life. And in this book, there's a map of Palestine. It says Palestine, Alexandria, which is very close. You've got the Mediterranean Sea. And then travel to India would be a hike. It would probably take a year, you know? Yeah, it would definitely take a year. I'd say probably 18 months, maybe even longer. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to say that. Psyche is from the Greek meaning soul. Psychology is the study of the soul, not in one life, but in many lifetimes, which culminates at the conclusion of final incarnation and reunion with God. Jesus, the Son of God, in the Son of Man, did determine to demonstrate for us all this union with the light, producing works out of it, establishing the word that is the divine direction for us. The Buddhist texts say Jesus spent 6 years at Juggernaut, Rajagrika, Benares, and other holy cities. He eventually became embroiled in a conflict with the Brahmins. Embroiled in the conflict, listen to this, with the Brahmins and Kshatriyas, which is a caste. Actually, they're explaining it, so I'll tell you. The Brahmins and the Kshatriyas, the priestly and warrior castes. As you know, in India, they have a caste system, right? Okay, let's continue. For teaching the Holy Scriptures to the lower castes. Do you understand? So he was going to the lower castes, right? And teaching them. By the way, the caste system, I don't know how recognizable it is today in India, but it's still, I'm going to say it's still used, okay? I'm just going to say it, okay? If I'm wrong, I'll apologize later. But for now, I'm going to say it still is. And it's fucked up. And so he went into conflict with the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas, the priests and lower caste, for teaching the Holy Scriptures to the lower caste. His enemies plotted to kill him. He left Jagannath by night and went to the foothills of the Himalayas in southern Nepal, the birthplace of Gautama. Gautama, Siddhartha, aka the Buddha. 500 years before, Gautama Buddha had achieved enlightenment, had internalized the word. Does that detract from the Son of God? No. It enhances the Son of God because it tells us that what man has done, man can do. That alone, the line of history for millions of years, throughout a matter cosmos, the soul that descends has found a way to internalize a higher light and to ascend. There is hope for us all, not merely because we believe in Jesus Christ, but because we believe in the Christ of Him and in His promise that we must do the greater works, for He has ascended to the Father. Gautama had lived and preached a way of peace, an eightfold path. He had the same desiring that Jesus did. He saw human suffering. He wanted to find its cause and its cure. He said that the cause of human suffering is wrong desire, inordinate desire. Don't we all suffer when we can't have our desires fulfilled until we recognize that that is not possible in life? We begin to sublimate desires and to have wisdom and maturity in determining goals that we can make happen. When I was a kid, I wanted a Birkin bag. When I was a kid, I wanted Lambuti shoes. I wanted a Cartier watch, shit like that, okay? When I was a kid, when I was like 20. And then before I knew it, all of that, just the more you know, the more these desires, these false desires, these ridiculous desires, literally, one day you wake up going, holy shit, I have none of these desires. Like, I don't want any of that shit. Like, I literally don't want it. Like, if somebody gave it to me, I would sell it right away. I would never keep it. I don't need name brands on my body. I don't need to show people I have money or not. I don't need those desires. The desires that I want, right, is knowledge, wisdom, liberation, right? So what did Jesus do next? Okay. Hang on, I skipped. No, this is important. I skipped. Let me go back. And therefore, Guantanamo. How interesting, Guantanamo. God bless those people, man. Gautama, I'm going to call him the Buddha, defended his right to be doing what he was doing, and he ascended that golden crystal coil of light. He went into samadhi. He brought back the understanding of the cause of suffering in his eightfold path, which is a path of exercises for the balancing of the 7 chakras and the 8th chakra, the 8-petaled chakra, the secret chamber of the heart. What did Jesus do next? He spent 6 years in Nepal. He mastered the Pali language and became a perfect expositor of the sacred writing of Buddhism. According to tradition, sometimes during his sojourn in the East, Jesus also traveled to Lhasa, Rajputana, and Ladakh. Between the ages of 27 to 29, he left the Himalayas and journeyed west, preaching along the way. He passed through Kabul in Afghanistan and through Persia, where he rebuked the false priesthoods of Zoroastrianism, even as he had rebuked the false priesthood of Hinduism. They cast him out of their own town, leaving him prey to the wild beast. He was being thrown out. He was calling out all of these supposed holy men. So it wasn't just the throwing over the merchants' tables that one time in that temple, right? It was what he was about. He was about bringing justice and balance. And everything was out of balance. Was Jesus' revolution for women founded in the concept he learned in the East, is the question. If Yeshua indeed journeyed to the East, he would have come into contact with several different cultures and peoples, including Hindus, Buddhists, Zoroastrians, Greeks, and possibly even Egyptians. These cultures had a radically different view of women and of God, one that honored the feminine. Was the revolution for women that Yeshua began in Palestine founded in these concepts? At some time during his journey, Yeshua may have traveled through Alexandria, a Greek city in Egypt. Alexandria was the main port of travel to and from the East. It was a meeting place not only of travelers and traders from East and West, but their philosophical ideas as well. God as mother, Isis, the universal mother. One idea that was prominent in Alexandria and in the East was the concept that God had a feminine side, a stark contrast to the Jewish depiction of an exclusively patriarchal God. Alexandria was the center of devotion to the goddess Isis, the best-loved representation of the Divine Mother in the ancient civilization of the Mediterranean. Isis was a healer, a champion of justice, and the embodiment of divine wisdom and philosophy. Isis was also known as the Universal Mother. She was able to perform miracles by using words of power. Through her words of power, she restored her husband, and by extension, all men to life. Oh, I guess maybe she didn't just get the phallic of Osiris. Maybe she got all his parts and brought him back to life. In the ancient world, women were more highly respected in Egypt than in the Middle East or in the Greek or Roman cultures. In Egyptian, women's legal rights were equal to those of a man of the same social class. Unlike Greek or Jewish women, Egyptian women were permitted to appear in public with their husbands. Women in Rome also held greater freedom than in Greece or Israel. John Temple Bristow, author of What Paul Really Said About Women, writes, "A woman living in Rome often accompanied her husband on outings into social affairs. Roman women of the upper class were allowed to organize meetings and pursue academic studies. Hence Pontius Pilate's wife, right, I forgot her name, saying to him, 'I've had a dream, don't do this. Don't do this to him.' And that he would respect her counsel, but he still had other issues in what he finally decided to do with Yeshua. But that would explain it. The spread of the Isis cult from Egypt affirmed these freedoms for women as they gathered together without men and learned to offer thanks to this goddess who they were taught to say gave us to women the same power as to men. Jesus returns to Palestine, and we pick up with his life story as we find him being baptized by John in Jordan, the Holy Spirit descending upon him, and the approbation given. "This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased." When he arrived in Palestine in the age of 29, by the way, it is the worst karmic number, just so you know. It's the worst. It's fucked beyond fucked. And it comes out to 11, which 11 is the muzzle line in Chaldean and Egyptian numerology. And 11 is the muzzle line that turns into 2, the moon, connected to the high priest or priestess, okay? So there's an evolution. So 29, he comes back to Palestine. Jesus found the people of his native land in despair. He adjured them not to give up their faith in God, not to resort to debauchery or to worship of idols, but he imbued them with hope and with patience. Now, Pilate didn't like Jesus any better than the priests of India did. The Buddhist historians who chronicle all of this recorded that Pilate, ruler of Jerusalem, gave orders to lay hands upon the preacher Isa, and to deliver him to the judges without, however, arousing the displeasure of the people. In short, Yeshua ruffled the feathers of both church and state. But Isa taught, "Do you not see that the rich and the powerful ones are sowing the spirit of revolt against the eternal consciousness of heaven? Lo, I tried to revive the laws of Moses in the hearts of the people, and I say that you do not understand their true meaning because they do not teach revenge but forgiveness. But the meaning of these laws is distorted." But the ruler, waxing wroth, sent to Isa his disguised servants that they should watch his actions and report about his words to the people. "Thou just man," said the disguised servant of the ruler of Jerusalem, approaching Isa, "teach us, should we fulfill the will of Caesar or await the approaching deliverance?" But Isa recognized the disguised servant and said, "I have not said unto you that you would be delivered from Caesar, but I said that the soul which was immersed in sin would be delivered from sin." At this time, an old woman approached the crowd, but he was pushed back by one of the disguised ones. He must have been, can you imagine sending your fucking spies? Reverence, woman, mother of the universe. The text that follows is the most important document in existence that establishes Jesus' revolution and reverence for women. Then Isis said, reverence, woman, mother of the universe. In her lies the truth of creation. She is the foundation of all that is good and beautiful. She is the source of life and death. Upon her lies the life of man, because she is the successor of his labors. She gives birth to you in travail. She watches over your growth. Unlike her very death, you bring anguish to her. Bless her, honor her. She is your only friend and sustenance upon earth. Reverence her, defend her, love your wives and honor them, because tomorrow they shall be mothers and later the mother of the human race. Their love ennobles man, soothes the embittered heart, and tames the beast. Wife and mother, invaluable treasures. They are the adornment of the universe. From them all issues which people the universe. As light divides itself from darkness, so does womankind possess the gift to divide in men good intent from the thought of evil. Your noblest thoughts shall belong to woman. Gather from them thy moral strength, from which you must possess to sustain your near ones. Do not humiliate her, for therein you will humiliate yourself. And through this shall you lose the feelings of love, without which naught exists upon earth. Bring reverence to thy wife, and she shall defend you. And all which you will do to mother, to wife, to widow, or to another woman in sorrow, that shall you also do for the Spirit. That was Jesus Christ. This is his liberating revolution. That flame he ignites has never truly gone out except through ignorant pronouncements of ignorant men. I love this woman. I want to remind you that those statements that were not made by Gloria Steinem or Betty Friedan. They were made by Jesus Christ for you and for me. I want you to absorb that. Do you see why he was on the cross? There was magic here too. Okay, there was magic here too. Do you understand? What was the magic? Well, the magic is that Mary Magdalene, thank God, and his mother were high priestesses. You know how a lot of people live in certain parts of the country, this country, other countries, they don't have the money to leave, but you don't belong because maybe you're a Wicca, you're a pagan, you're a spiritualist, you don't believe in the fucking religion of the land. Do you understand? You're not a Catholic, you're not this, but you don't have the money to move. You know who you are. It would take maybe $15,000 for you to move to a place, another place that would be of your kinmen and kinwomen. Just because someone lives somewhere doesn't mean they're fucking part of the religion, okay? Let's not forget that. Oh, he was a carpenter. His mother was there. Stuck under a ruling system that was absolutely misogynistic. Okay? Let's start really fucking just pulling down the fucking curtains, okay, little Wizard of Oz people, with your little holy books, your little Wizard of Oz book. Let's pull down the curtain and realize that the demon is a short little man that's got a complex. The meaning of Mother of the Universe. The true meaning of the title Mother of the Universe is that it belongs to every woman. Every incarnation of the feminine ray is the keeper of the matter, which is Latin for mother, matter. Thought become matter, M-A-T-E-R, which is Latin for mother, or the matter, universe. And she is sent into life to keep the flame of the Divine Mother as well as of the Trinity on behalf of her children, her father, her husband, her brothers, her friends. This is the role and office of women, and it is the role and office of woman in the church. Therefore, the primary destiny of everyone who incarnates as a woman, right? Here we are. And we all do at one time or another thought we may be wearing a masculine body at this time, is to keep the flame of the mother and to raise up that mother flame. It is the Divine Mother, Omega, whom we ought to worship just as we worship our Divine Father, Alpha. The worship of the Divine Mother and our absolute oneness with her enables the raising of her sacred fire in our temple, whereby we achieve a state of being androgynous. That's right. We prefer certain accoutrements, accessories. We prefer certain things. The way we dye our hair blue. Oh, today I'm going to dye my hair blue. Today I'm going to shave it all off. Today I feel androgynous. Do you understand why we're having so many people who are they're going through becoming, they're male going to female? I just saw a video on that. That's why I'm bringing it up. I saw a woman who transitioned to be a man. She had the double mastectomy, the whole bit, and now she's transitioning back to being a woman. Do you know why that's happening? For some people, this is really they're in the wrong body. I agree. Don't get me wrong, and don't misquote me, okay? Because I don't play that shit. However, there are some people who don't understand that ultimately we are androgynous souls. We have preferences that we've developed over the fucking billions of years we've been alive. If you don't believe billion, okay, we'll say hundreds of millions. How's that? They're definitely in the millions, hundreds of millions, okay? And we develop a preference. Okay? But it also explains why some of us are bisexual. Or we choose to have a bisexual life. We choose to have a polyamorous life. The sexuality, the androgyny, the truth of our soul and our experiences, you can't fuck up ever unless you are harming yourself or others. Number one. You don't take on these personas unless it is your truth, not the truth to please your man or please your woman, your truth, your desires. And to understand these concepts will help you in defining who you are, in making you a rounded human being, 360 degrees, rounded. Meaning, oh yeah, in this incarnation I'm bisexual, or I'm gay, or I'm heterosexual, or I'm polyamorous, I'm this, I'm that. But it is your truth, your desire, it's not making you cry and shake and rock and roll in your body going, oh my God, but maybe, no, you're feral, this is you. This is why reincarnation, understanding concepts is so fucking important. It is the very foundation of your freedom, your deliverance. Without it, you're fucked. You're bumping into walls. Oh my God, I met a preacher who's telling me this and that, and then suddenly you're having sex with them. I'm not kidding. Self-realization is everything. And it is your fucking duty to self-realize. I can't do it for you. And Yeshua said the same thing. Okay, let's continue. So, we can affirm in our hearts that every woman, no matter what her station, is the mother of the universe in the sense of bringing forth life, in the sense of keeping the flame of life. Look at how they treat pregnant women in this country. It's fucking disgusting. Only one who possesses the highest level and the highest respect for woman could speak such words of transcendent tenderness in her defense. Let us be comforted by them. Yeshua loved, revered the feminine sex in a world that despised the feminine sex. We were nothing more than cattle to be bred upon. Yeshua walked a path that we can follow. We find these footsteps of Yeshua in the East, ones in which we can comfortably place our own feet, because we can understand that there is a salvation to be won before we have the full realization of the Christ within the body, within his mind, within this temple. Yeshua walked a path that we can follow. Let me stop. That is exactly why they slaughtered the Cathars. Because the Cathars revered women. The Cathars, I'm going to say this for the lack of a better way to express it, allowed women to preach, equal to the men who were preaching Yeshua's words. That's why the Roman Pope sent the order to slaughter the villages in the Languedoc-Occitan region. Every woman, man, and child. I remember reading to you, the mercenaries turned to whatever guy they sent out as their agent, the Pope's agent. Who do we not slaughter? And do you know what the answer was? Guy will God will recognize his own, slaughter them all. I mean, the barbarity is insane. And why? Why would they do that? Well, because this, I'm reading it to you. That's why. Because of this. Because of this. And I'm going to say something very, very politically incorrect, and I don't give a fuck. I don't like women in nuns' habit, just I don't like hijabs. I'm sorry. I feel like anything that fucking puts a woman and makes her feel, brainwash her to feel like she has to cover her hair, cover her face, cover her body. I'm not into it. I don't like nuns doing it. I don't like it at all. I love how nuns walk around. I'd love to see a nun with long fucking hair down her ass as a high priestess, and she's married to Christ. Why does she have to shave her hair off? Why does she have to have short hair? Why? Why? Oh, because she's attractive? She's beautiful? You're going to sexualize her? Dude, that's your fucking problem. What was she wearing? I don't know. Clothes? The subtle fuckery of these religions have me unhinged. Obviously, you can hear it in my voice. But I see the brainwashing, and I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay? If a woman is laying out nude in the sun, and you're a man, keep fucking walking. Don't ask her name. Don't ask her phone number. Don't ask her shit. Leave her the fuck alone and keep on walking. Get the fuck out. Give her privacy. Don't go skulking, staring, taking photos, you fucking creep. And we are catering to men who have normalized this, that we are responsible for their fucking eyes. And here we have Yeshua. This is why I've been saying, make Yeshua your template. You want to find out how to be a man? There you go. Here's your template. Read the fucking book. Read it until you brainwash yourself out of your brainwashing. I am so sick to death of men making women feel like they have to be careful of what they wear. You know what's ironic? Is that eventually women will wear things that maybe won't catch the eye. But to be honest, like, I don't care if she's walking down the street fucking naked in high heels. It's her business. My question would be, are you okay? Would you like a blanket? Only because I know men. Only because I know men. And what's beautiful is that we have brothers who would do the same as I. They would say, are you okay? Can I get you? Here's my jacket. You're not safe here. Why? Well, because of men. That's why grape, I hate to use that fruit, but here we are being fucking treated like we're 12, has gone rampant. Rampant. And those little texts with these little Democrat fucks, these little Poindexters that need to go to the gym. Okay, you know the three little dudes I'm talking about. Talking about it would be, what was it? Legendary or something about grape? And these are Christians, by the way. These are, they're going to church every Sunday or every other Sunday or whatever the fuck they're doing. When you think about why the truth was burnt again and again, I mean, they couldn't burn it fast enough. They just couldn't, and I tell you, now they're trying to debunk this shit. 4 different people fucking saw the actual writings, were told what it was. Why would they lie? Why would they lie? This is not Tibet after 1959. These are Tibetan people before what happened to them. And what happens in those kinds of situations? All the men are, slaughtered and the women are, violated so that the bloodlines are mixed. Did you know that? That's like it goes right back to it's what they did, the French kings, the British kings, all the kings. That's what they would order. Slaughter the men. Let's put our bloodline in those. Okay, the Vikings did it. They've all done it. This is how it's done. Why? By the way, the way Rome was made, was created, it's called the rape of the Sabine. Look it up. Look up the sculpture. They brought the Sabine men in some kind of festival, we'll have a great feast, we'll have fun, we'll do this. So they invited the Sabine men, slaughtered the men, kidnapped the women, and founded Rome. Did you know that? Okay. So look it up. Look it up. What were they wearing? What were the Sabine women wearing? Because it's got to be what she's wearing. Isn't that interesting how the Catholic Church, but and the offshoot is a Protestant. Believe me, I am not fucking just bashing them. I'm bashing what came after that, which was the Protestant religion that did no better. They did no better because women were still fucking put under the thumb of these misogynist fucks, okay? So there's no preference here. And there's like tentacles of this shit. And then you got the Mormon religion. And you don't even want me to go there because I will be banned. I will be banned. I will be banned. But I will say this, in absolute irreverence. We believe that Yeshua went to Utah, right? Oh, but he never went to the East. He never went to Egypt. He never went to India. He never went to Tibet. Never. No, but he went to fucking Utah. We'll believe that. And that should make you laugh your ass off. At the level of damaged brains held up by patriarchal misogyny. Because it's damaged. And do you know how many clients I have that have the foundation of that religion? That are trying to fucking, it's like, you know how you catch a mouse on a glue trap? That's what's happening. That's the image I just got. They downloaded the image of a mouse stuck in a glue trap, and you're fighting to save that fucking mouse off that glue trap. And have you ever done, because I've actually done it in the Bahamas. I found a mouse in a glue trap. I was like, what the fuck are they doing here? And I had to work hours and hours to get that mouse off that glue trap and clean him. And then I released him in an area where he was going to be safe with cheese, a little cup of water. And I hope to God he was going to be okay. But so that's what these religions are. It's literally the perfect fucking visual. It's like trying to get someone off a glue trap. Oh my God. And as you move your arm to lift off, you get deeper into it's like fucking a nightmare. That's what's happening here. And they refuse to read, oh, well, she's like new age mumbo jumbo. She's got more brains than your fucking person. How many young teenagers, especially boys, have gone to their pastor or whatever to say, I think I'm gay. I like men. I don't know what's going on. You're a sinner. You must reprogram your brain. There's something wrong. Wow, the judgment. And how many of these young people didn't survive another year on this planet because of that bullshit. Instead of getting reincarnation, well, okay, yeah, of course, you're into men. You've been a woman before. Let's look at past life regression. See when was your last female incarnation. Let's see what's going on with that. Let's see. If you want to be gay, enjoy. But if it's making you suffer, right? Which why would it in the 21st century? But it didn't make people suffer 3,000 years ago. But okay, let's talk about it. And you gently heal someone. You don't judge someone and make them literally choose not to be here anymore. These people have way too much power over our youth. Many of them are starseeds. Many of them have not incarnated here for 400 or 500 years. They're absolutely feeling like fish out of water. And they need our help. And we need all hands on deck, and we need to get off our asses, and we need to speak out. We need to be reading these books. Right now we're reading Psyche and Singularity. I'm hoping that's what we're reading on our book club. But we're definitely going to be reading Claire Prophet's books, both on the lost years of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. But do you see how she had to write? This, by the way, what I'm reading to you, which I'll continue in a minute, is an introduction. We haven't even gotten into the Mary Magdalene and the mysteries of the divine feminine. Not yet. This is the introduction. Swear to God. It's insane. Okay, let's continue. Jesus walked a path that we can follow. We find these footsteps of Jesus in the East ones in which we can comfortably place our own feet because we can understand that there is a salvation to be won before we have the full realization of the Christ within this body, within this mind, within this temple. Yeshua walked a path that we can follow. We can know him as a teenager. He is a role model for our teenage years and for our years when we prepare for our profession and study, the years of his 20s. This account shows that he was not born a god, but that he was descended into human form and had to prepare for the mission, and that he did so diligently. Krishna did the same thing, by the way, just so you know, in the Vedic scriptures, when we talk about the Bhagavad Gita. When we talk about Krishna who's born from a woman, they talk about Krishna's pastimes. Krishna, he's blue. You know, blue, black, blue. And you have his stories of a naughty little baby, a little toddler, and his connection with Radha, his twin ray, his divine counterpart, his eternal consort, Radha. And that also has been bastardized. And this is also a religion that was bastardized by nasty little monks. And their little weird ideas about, can you imagine being birthed out of a woman who breastfed your ass and you're going to fucking act like an idiot? We got incels running around, red pillars, black pillar, all kinds of weirdos running around. You came from between a woman's thighs, you fuck. Have some respect. I'm sorry if I sound pissed off, but it's like, I can't. I believe that orthodoxy has removed this path from us because they wanted to make Jesus into flesh and blood God, to be worshipped instead of seeing him as a brother and as a friend and someone who is approachable and reachable. This does not detract from the divinity of Yeshua. Exactly. But it restores the divinity of yourself. It doesn't make you equal to Yeshua, for he is the avatar. But he gives us the example of what we can follow. This is why I'm reading the book, Yeshua in Aramaic. Do you understand? This is why I'm reading that book. I'm reading so many books, and I have a Gemini mind with a Taurus bot. It's insane, okay? It's insane. But I read, boom, boom, boom. It's like, because the mind is like the palate. It wants to taste various knowledge, amuse-bouche, little tastings of wisdoms. And as you read this book, then you read that book, you start having massive downloads of a last book you read, because you're like, oh my God, and you're putting it together. You're stitching it together. I don't read linearly. I haven't for years, okay? It is not blasphemy to affirm that Yeshua was God incarnate, and yet that he came towards that route, towards that goal, in the same manner as we have even by reincarnation. We see signs of him in the Old Testament, even all the way back to Atlantis, always the one who comes as the great savior and the great converter of our souls back to God. That Yeshua was a diligent student means that we must also be diligent students and not dilettantes, not going here and there, but recognizing that the kingdom of God is within us. The light is there. Those who have gone before us, our eldest brothers and sisters, the ascended masters, are guiding us every step of the way. This is my mission, she says, to bring to you the understanding of the Ascended Master's teachings. This message on a woman is central, but only one chapter in those teachings. Yeshua gives us the same message today as he did in the East and in Palestine. He is our Lord and Savior, and no one can take his place, yet all can follow him to arrive at that kingdom of God and to be part of the company of saints robed in white, who come from every religion and every creed, who gather around the throne of God, and they are known as the Great White Brotherhood. Then she says, and she explains, the White Brotherhood is spiritual fraternity of ascended masters, archangels, and other advanced spiritual beings. The term white, she wants to be clear, refers not to race, thank you, but to the aura of white light that surrounds these immortals. The Great White Brotherhood works with earnest seekers of every race, religion, and walk of life to assist with humanity. Yeah, she had to explain that because, somebody would go off and triple K it. Anyway, the beginning of our own quest. We have a trek to make, not necessarily physical to the Himalayas, but we must climb the highest mountain of being. We must accelerate and go beyond the consciousness and worldliness. We must find the inner teachers, and this through the Holy Spirit. We must drink of their cups, walk in their footsteps, be willing to understand that there's a price to be paid to carry the light, and pay it. Someone has paid the price that you could be reading this book. We must be ready to pay the price for our children and our youth. Therefore, because Yeshua submitted to John the Baptist, that tells me also he submitted to the great lights of the East because he is the greatest light, the summum Bunam, of all the world's religion. He rises to the highest awareness of all peoples, the sense of the divine man incarnate, not to which referred to him as the best of the sons of man. Sometimes, somewhere, every one of you must come to that moment, that lifetime when you are called to embody that light. This could be that lifetime. This could be why you are reading this book, because this is the end of the Piscean age and the beginning of the age of Aquarius. Well, guess what? We're in the age of Aquarius. It is a time of the harvest of souls and a great awakening. Some of you are old souls. You have been on this planet a long time. You want to get on with your reason for being. You sense the call of higher octaves. You know you must access the light of that great causal body, shown as the sphere of light, surrounded by the upper figures in the chart of your divine self, page 80, which unfortunately, again, the book is called Mary Magdalene and the Mysteries of the Divine Feminine by Elizabeth of your divine self, page 80, which unfortunately, again, the book is called Mary Magdalene and the Mysteries of the Divine Feminine by Elizabeth Clare Prophet. Then begins the quest. How? Why? How to call forth that light? How to feel more of that light in reality here below? All of this is part of the lost teaching of Yeshua. The ascended masters who had followed in his footsteps have also given the teaching to us by the Holy Spirit. I just bought a series of books by Paramahansa Yogananda called The Resurrection of Jesus Christ Within You. It's a 2-volume book. And I'll be reading that to you at some point here and there as I explore this with you and without you, to be honest. But honestly, this is it. You want to know? There you go. The books are there. And it is all the same teaching to the path of the soul. It is rich and full of treasures, and it covers whatever you might face on your path overcoming. You might experience exactly what happened to Yeshua between the age of 14 and 20 when he traveled to Juggernaut, Raja Griha, and Benares, and other holy cities came into conflict with the Brahmas and Shastriyas. This might happen to you when in the firmness and in the fire of youth, you take a stand against entrenched materialism or dead-lettered orthodoxy or any limitation that may be imposed upon the people. Youth have a great sense of justice and correspondingly a sense of injustice. It is the fire in us that impels us to change and uplift light, to make things better. Yeshua took their holy scriptures and gave them to the lower castes. It was unthinkable and unheard of that they should be given the means to implement the word and one day to fully embody that light. The priest said they are not worthy. Therefore, his enemies plotted to kill him. He was warned by the people and escaped by night. The encounter with darkness or evil that denies the light within all of us is something that we must all come to when we are in the servants of truth. When we know the truth and have that truth and see it. We want to champion the cause of those who are oppressed, whether by big government or big business, whether by world communism or any other force that deprive the individual of his or her right to be in the fullness of that light. Why do you think I talk about politics? Why? What do you think? You don't think it's connected to, and I've said it again and again, my last live yesterday was about how it impedes our ascension. The system impedes our ascension. We cannot ascend unless it was about how it impedes our ascension. The system impedes our ascension. We cannot ascend unless we start actually building communities where we are totally fuck off grid. We're no longer plugged into their bullshit. We're self-sustaining. People are so afraid of poverty, and they think poverty is the lack of money. Poverty is the lack of you being able to connect to your soul. Poverty is dying and being afraid of death. That's poverty. Poverty is being terrified of death and not knowing where you're going when you die. That's poverty. Poverty is not being a minus $30 in your checking account because they fucked you. And when you stop, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying. That's not poverty. That's systematic. That's by design. To fuck your consciousness to such a level. Oh my God, minus 30. What am I going to do? Oh my God, it's going to bounce again. Now it's minus 60. And it fucks you up. So that you're not in the frequency of 5D. Ascension. Money will be made and lost and made and lost and made and lost until we no longer need it. Take that to the bank. Ha ha. We need to know that all revolutionaries of the spirit, whoever has gone before us, have come to the crossroad. Whether to go the way of mediocrity, to not make waves, to just do everything the way everybody else is doing, and has ever done or say, there's a better way, and I will fight for the right of people to know that better way. I would take out fight. That was the term that a lot of fight, crime, fight, no, not fight. Transmute, transcend. To help people find a better way. And just like Sojourner Truth said that she could have saved another 1,000 slaves from leaving the plantations. But they were fighting her, slapping her hands. No, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Do you understand that? The mental slavery. She literally said that. It blew my mind. I could have... No, I'm sorry. It was Harriet Tubman. My mistake. I don't know why Sojourner Truth came up. But anyway, Harriet Tubman said, I could have saved another 1,000 people. They didn't want to be saved. So she left them behind. That's what the life of Yeshua is telling us, that that is what we have to know. We have to know how he dealt with all of these specific situations that we're facing. That's why we need his lost years and his lost teachings. Yeshua, being the world teacher and the savior in Pisces, came to show the people of the way of the internalization of this light from their own scriptures. Yeshua, achieving the highest manifestation and goal of all religions, our reunions with God, must speak to the people in their own language, in their own tradition, must live with them, love them, be trusted by them, and trust them, heal them, and give to them the lost word. Awaken their memory to their origin in the heart of the great central sun, and tell them all that he was, they too can become. And that was the end. And then it goes right into something else, which my phone's going to go dead anyway. But I wanted to thank you for being here. Thank you for support. Thank you, Angie, for being here. We need to reclaim it back. And I'm looking, and I'd like to know how many men are here. And I bet you is there a man here on this live? Is there a man? 9, the perfect master number. Is there a man? No? Yeah, well, you know what? This is something you need to put in front of your man. Your man, your brother, your father, your son. You fucking let them listen to this, because this is... When I upload this, share this widely to all the men. I dare you to listen to the entire thing. If you've come to this point, my fine young brother, I bless you. I take a knee to you. And I actually give you my obeisances. If you actually are a man who has listened to this entire thing, I want you now to buy both books by Claire Prophet. Buy The Lost Years of Yeshua by Mary Magdalene, so that you can make peace with your inner feminine strife from your past incarnations when you too were a woman, my young brother. You too were a woman and you were treated like dog shit. Okay? And I want you to make peace with that and become an agent and a force of light in the protection of women until we no longer need such devout protection, because all will be in balance. 5D, we don't have violent criminals that harm our women and children. It's not a match. That's common sense. We need as many men to listen to this book and not to take... And this, why do you think I chose an example of Yeshua's power? Right? Calisthenic body. The kind of body a lot of these men had, by the way. This was not some bodybuilding, taking all kinds of weird fucking... This is how men were built. There's some Greek statues that were brought out of the ocean. It's called the boxer. Look it up. Greek, boom, the boxer. He's got his hands on his knees and he's built like a brick shit house, okay? And how? It was sculpted out of bronze probably 2,500 years ago. How? But check it out. It's one of my favorite statues besides the Dying Gaul. Look up the sculpture, the Dying Gaul, which was a copy of the Romans from the Greeks. And you will see these bodies. I can't stand when people, you're like, I can't. Dude, that's how men were built. That's how men fucking looked. So you don't have to go to the gym and lift iron. You can do calisthenics and get your body together. But those little 3 fucking idiots that had their text revealed to the world, did you notice? And by the way, I'm out of shape too. But did you notice they're going to talk shit and look like that? Go to the gym. You need to go to the gym a lot and get your act together, or fucking run up hills, fucking lift yourself, take a tree and lift yourself, do pull-ups. do all kinds of shit to get your mind together. And the Greeks understood the balance of the mind, body, and spirit were definitely, and me being out of shape just because I'm not gonna, is a symptom of grief for the 3 people who died in the last 4 years. And it's not pity party time. It's to say we all deal with grief in different ways, and I'm taking responsibility, and now I'm ready to rock and roll again. So, and for me, it's being fit, healthy, muscular, and so forth. And as a woman, it's important to be strong, to be able to run up a hill, lift yourself up, things of that nature, because it balances your mind. It balances your soul. It's kind of like it's time for me to clean up my temple. There are candle wax everywhere. There's fucking leaves in the staircases. There's mud on the altar, and I need to clean it up. So I'm certainly by no means walking on water, but I'll call him out. You're calling me. You're a Republican Christian. Shame on you. Anyway, thank you, my young brother, if you listen to it, and send this to your people. All right. Thank you, Davina. Thank you, Angie. Thank you for being here, beautiful sis. And follow me on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube. This will be uploaded in the next, say, 3 hours. It'll be up. And much love to you. Much love to you all. Namaste. Be well.